Hi guys, welcome back to my vlog. As I've mentioned in previous vlogs, and I really try to emphasize that, is that, this is a journey. Like what I'm on right now is a journey. I'm not exactly where I want to be, but it is very important. It's so important each step of your journey to celebrate success. Whether it is you make $100, $1,000, $1,000,000, it's always important to celebrate your success at each point in your journey. And you can always look back when you reach to whatever level of success that you have as your goal. That what, look, remember the time when I made $100 and now I'm making well over 1,000,000. And we are all on our journeys, different journeys, at different levels of success. I have one such person with me, and I'm very, very excited to introduce her to you all today because she is actually my sister. Hi, Keisha. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Kimon. How are you doing?
I am good. I am so grateful that you took the time out. I know you're very busy. I'm very grateful that you took the time out to come and have this conversation here with me today. So welcome.
Well, thanks so much. And first, let me just say that I'm very honored that you consider me to be a person that's worthwhile to interview or to have a conversation with for your vlog. So, just want your success, and I'm glad to share whatever it is that you're asking of me right now.
Great, thank you so much. And I know I kind of had to cajole you, kind of nudge you a little bit to do this because you felt a little bit that you weren't at the level that you're looking to be yet. So you didn't think that, you were, I guess, qualified to come and talk. But as I said, this is a journey, we're at different levels of success. And you are also really working towards that. And you have been starting to see a little bit of moving the dial in a way, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you finally said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna come and this conversation because so many people can relate to being like on the path, on the road to whatever level of success that they're looking to attain. So many people could relate to that. So I'm glad that you're here to talk about that, share your journey and experience.
All right, well, let's get it rolling.
Yeah, so let's get into it, right? So we don't have to get into how we know each other because we're family, so we could, skip that part. But I wanted to ask you, can you tell us a little bit about your background, like what the industry that you feel that you used to do?
All right. So yeah, as I said, I'm really glad to be here with you today. And just to give you a little bit about myself, I have a PhD in material science and engineering. I'm also a professional engineer registered in Texas, the state of Texas. I did have my professional engineers and license in New York, but now I live in Texas, so it's really focused on that. Currently, I'm a professor at Prairie View A&M University. I teach in the chemical engineering department. So I teach undergraduate courses. I now started to do some research in some interesting fields. But apart from that, I've been a professor for going on 2 years. I never thought I'd be in education, even though, we have so many educators in the family, like tons of educators.
Same thing I said.
Yeah, I never thought that I would be in education, but, that's life. You really, on this journey, really, you have to say never. But going prior to that, once I finished my PhD, so I have a PhD in material science and engineering. Once I finished that, I started working for a company called, which is a Fortune 500 company. There, one of the dreams I had as a child was to be a scientist, and I did, achieve that. I had the business card with the label, development scientist and all that. So after that, you're like, okay, well then what's next? I held a series of different roles, technical roles while there. And, and the money wasn't bad. It was pretty good. It was a professional job. But at some point, I just felt that it was time to, in my spirit, I felt that that I've accomplished all that I could accomplish here, and that, staying here was not, I'm not benefiting myself by staying there. So, I decided to leave that job, and I guess maybe I left a little earlier than I expected, you know, when I mentioned to them that it just came out.
Before you get into that, right? Sorry, before you get into that, I actually wanted to explore that a little bit because, and I wanted to make a point first before you get into that part, right? Because as you mentioned that you were doing very well. You know, you had the life. A lot of people want the American dream, and you were living it. You were making a really good salary. You were going on trips. You went to Japan. You went to China. You went, you know, Europe. You know, because of work, and you saw so many different things. You learned so much. You made all these connections. You had like increasing levels of responsibility and all that, and still you felt, I guess, stifled and you needed to do something else, right? And I know, like in talking to a lot of different people, their opinions and stuff, a lot of them say, okay, well, before you leave your job, make sure you have like 6 months to a year of savings, or like make sure you have all this in place before you leave. But sometimes that is not always the way things go down, right? So I know you said yes, you wanted to leave, but it wasn't really at that time that you were planning to leave. But tell us what happened there that made you have to kind of push you to leave faster than you anticipated.
Well, one thing is that one project that I was working on, you know, well, my role in that project came to a sudden end. So, you know, then, you know, there was a kind of period of time during which I did not have a project. So you start looking around, that you have a lot more time to start to think. And then I also interviewed for other positions in the company. But I already felt that my spirit was, you know, I did not see myself being there, you know, for the long term. So it would have just been a band-aid to like move to another role. And so it, you know, it was just a very strong urge to move, to do something different. So, you know, and it's not like, you know, I did start looking for jobs and different things like that. So, you know, at that time, the time when I kind of blurted out to my manager at that time, he was talking about different roles. And I just came out, yeah, I don't think I'm going to stay here. And I just came out. I didn't, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know, I didn't recommend that, but I just came out. And, you know, so when these things come out, you know, people take things seriously.
Yeah.
What I started to realize is that, you know, because I'm a scientist, engineer, and you know, I create intellectual property. I also have access to intellectual property, but now if a company is starting to feel threatened by you, just by making a statement like that, they are looking to secure themselves, protect themselves from potential, you know, theft. And I don't blame them. But
Yeah.
you know, I started to see like some restrictions in my access, and I was like, well, this is not really gonna really allow me to, you know, operate effectively. So it is okay.
So you felt like they were starting to nudge you out.
Well, that also, you know, but it wasn't for very long, you know. Perhaps, you know, when I made, from the time that I made that statement to when I started to see that, that might have been a month, and I was already in my mind close enough. I mean, for a person to blurt that, that means that they already are feeling that very strongly. So, you know, you know, so if I had to give some advice, you know, it's to be wise and guard your tongue. And you know, not, you know, sometimes the heart says what the heart says, right? Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, you know, I had you know, that was, you know, I was making well over $100,000, and you know, for some people that's quite, that's significant
And I
salary.
want to make sure everybody knows US dollars we're talking about here. Like, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's significant salary, and you know, and I'm single. I don't have children, so I don't have the responsibilities. So it's not, you know, it's pretty good.
And you were living
But
upstate New York, so you weren't even living in like New York City where the rent is exorbitant. So
right,
you know,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, cost manageable and all that. I mean, you can't live large on 100 G's. I mean, you cannot live large on that, but you could live a, you know, decent life. You know,
Very
visit, you
decent,
know,
yeah. You travel, you do a
yeah,
lot of stuff. Do a lot of
yeah,
stuff, yeah.
you know. But eventually, I just also I really wanted to see what else was out there. You know, because you know, after a while, I worked there for about 7 to 8 years. And, you know, after a while, you start to feel that you are being seen in a particular way, or that you can't grow, or you could only reach this level. And, you know, and you want to, you know, we are human beings, you know, we want to maintain that independence and guard against those kind of thoughts being put on us. Those thoughts are being put on us, and then we start to adopt those thoughts as
Yeah,
true.
yeah. We
They're
start to
not
think
true.
that for ourselves too. Like we
Yeah,
can't, this is it.
yeah, and that's not true.
Not true.
That's not true. So I just felt like I needed to, you know, get free.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so in the end, when I actually did end up, you know, it didn't, you know, once I realized that it was time to go, there was that nudge. I did, you know, formally tender my resignation, and it was strange, you know, because you don't, when you wake up, you don't go to work like, you know, before you're going to work, and now, oh wow, but what do I do today? You know, that's when the journey really begins. That's when you really start to know yourself.
So true. Very, very true. And like when you were talking about, you know, guard your tongue, right? I have to say, like, I never did that in a job. I was always so blunt, and everybody's like, why would you say that? Because I'm like, it's true. I don't want to be here. When they ask you where you want to be in 2 to 5 years, and I'm like, not here. I've done that more than once.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that. You know, I mean, people get the. I mean, look at what's happening now, and this is like here. I have a job now. You know what I mean? It's a lot, you know, more flexible for me. But I have a job now, and you know, one day I will just be, you know, doing business full time. But you know, it did help me appreciate. You know, I guess what I want to say is that a person can get so taken up with having the job, the security, even though it's not the best thing for them. You know, there's that security. There's a check coming every 2 weeks or every month, however
Safety
often,
net.
and so they may be unwilling to take a chance on themselves. And you know, you don't have to quit your job to do that. There are a lot of different avenues you can use to, you know, make that transition. But a person shouldn't just stay and not try and grow themselves in other ways. That's what I want to say there.
But sometimes, because I mean, I would have, I don't know if I would have stayed any longer, but I may have stayed a little longer. But the way my job was getting, you couldn't even do anything outside of that. They wanted to consume you totally, and I was just like, listen, my time is my time. I shouldn't have to be here, you know, early, leaving late, and I reaching home when my kid already asleep and all like this. It was too much. But and then they started to want weekends too. I was like, listen, as a management officer, you're not gonna get overtime or anything like that. It's your salary, right? It's just to get it done, and it's just like no matter what we were doing, we weren't even making a dent in the week. So it was just like, listen, I can't anymore. It's just too much. It's draining me, and I couldn't anymore. You know, like if it is that you have the option to stay and still thrive and something on the side, then yeah, you could do that. Sometimes you just don't have that option to do that.
Yeah, sometimes you don't, you know. So, you know, just want to say that everything is like everything I express is just my opinion, and
Yeah.
you know, so folks have to decide, use good judgment to decide what's right for their
Right.
life, right?
Yeah.
You know, all I'm saying is sometimes people can quit a job, and it could be, you know, then especially if they haven't fully bought onto why they are leaving and what they plan to do, then there could be regrets.
Right.
So, you know, that's not something that you should do lightly. Is
Right.
what I'm
Yeah. So not everybody is like a Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates where they have an idea already, something very tangible. They just kind of running with it. Sometimes you still kind of flounder and trying to find your way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I could address one of the things that you talked about, I don't think I answered that, which is about the savings, the 6 months to, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for me, you know, I probably had about 2 years savings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, living thrift, you know, being thrifty. being very thrifty. Not, I mean, I'm already, prone to save, but being thrifty, I had about, I could pay all my bills and all that. I remember reading, at that time I wanted to go into consulting, but the thing is, like, when people, some folks, they may have already started a business and they have already a great idea and all that. I had no idea, and so it was just me taking a chance on me, and so I had to actually shift gears, when I realized that, okay, the consulting, you know, how I've organized myself or marketed myself was not giving me the results that I wanted, right? So yes, it's a very different thing to have a great resume and to be able to market yourself as a business person. Those are two totally different
things.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah,
So.
and I think it's you don't realize it until you really try to go full force into it. But sometimes you could be the best employee and the worst business owner.
Yes. Yep.
It's like it's such a you have to really approach it with a different mindset.
Yeah.
You don't always realize that until you're in it. I want to kind of get into the journey now, right? So let's take us to, right, you left your job, you made a decision to move out of the area because, upstate New York is like, you know,
Area.
yeah, I mean, if you're not already settled with a husband and kids and school and stuff, a single person, it could be really like, yeah, no, I gotta go.
Yeah, it could be isolating there, and and after a while, I just realized it wasn't an area for me to stay.
Right.
So it was, for part of my life, it was good for me to develop as an engineer. Good for me to learn how to work. Learn what growing a career is, working in a 4,500 company, learn all these different things. But after that, it was time for me to, take that leap of faith and step out.
Right. So you at first decided to move to Miami. Then you changed your mind and ended up going to Texas, right? So
Yes.
what was that process there?
Well, as I was talking with a friend who worked at the same company that I did, she was asking me what my intentions were to find business, because that's what I was going to do. Own my own business. So what was my intention to find customers and all that?
Mm-hmm.
And she asked very good questions.
Yeah.
To which I had no answers. I'm like, this is getting real. Wow, what do I do? I actually hung up I was like, listen, I have to go. Okay, I couldn't handle any more of these questions because
Oh my.
keep asking very good questions. And I went to bed that night, and before I went to bed, I had found this, well, I went to bed, I found this, and I woke up and I looked up, LinkedIn, and there was this guy's, this man's profile, and I saw University of the West Indies. I'm like, oh, he's training, okay. Oh, he has his own consulting business, and okay, and he has all this experience in chemical engineering. Let me email, send him a message, and ask for his advice. And what was interesting is that he called me that same day. He called me, called me on the phone. I was like, wow, I didn't know this guy from, I just a few hours ago, I did not know this man. And he calls me, he's like, oh, congratulations, you're starting your own business. That guy is such a great guy, Raj Kulkarni. I need to call him, just to say hi. So, I was so appreciative of that, and I was discussing my plans that, I'm just trying to figure my way out, and, I thought, I can gain some ideas from him, some guidance. And so I told him that I live where I live, and I was trying to move out of the area. And I was thinking Miami because, really how I chose Miami was because it's one flight to Trinidad. That was number one. The other one is that it's warm most of the year. So those two things, and more metropolitan and more diverse. So those were the things that I was looking for. But when I explained my plans to him, he encouraged me to move to Houston, since he thought that I needed to be around an environment, be in an environment where there are more chemical engineers. And he realized that I'm from Trinidad, so I probably need some sunshine. And then he explained to me that Houston, there's a direct flight to Trinidad every day. So I actually had already bought a ticket to go to Miami to go and find housing. I just changed that flight to go to Houston. And when I went there, when I looked at Houston at first, I'm like, well, it's not, it doesn't stand out as a beautiful city.
Right.
Just when folks arrive, well, at least when I arrived, it didn't seem especially eye-catching, although there's some very nice areas, but it didn't, but in my mind, I went there with the intention to make my life in Houston work.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think it makes a big difference when you go with the intention to do something. Like I'm very much, because now I'm living from savings. It's not like money is coming in, it's just you have a pile and it's running down. So you have to be very judicious about how you spend those funds. So, I went with the idea that, that I will make it work. So, I joined a lot of different small business organizations, went to a lot of small business events. And so I think those things are good because they help you to try, see who's around and all that. And you get the feeling that, there are a lot of people out there who are on their business journeys, like small businesses are being formed every day.
Right.
Every day. So that is incredible for me to see. But not every business sticks around.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you would hear about that statistics. I don't really keep those numbers in my mind. But you'd hear about those things. One of the things that Raj, my mentor, mentioned is that I should get a job right away.
Okay.
Even though I was gonna.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about that, right? Because you said that how you had 2 years worth of savings, and some people might have different things now, but it's amazing how fast the money runs out, right? Like one good car trouble wipe you out, right? So what is one of the so tell me now what he recommended to you, which is so important for people to know.
Yeah, that you should get a job, any job, just to like pay the bills while you're building your business. And that's the thing, like when you start a new business, you're very optimistic. And maybe that optimism is necessary, otherwise you wouldn't
But in the first place,
you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be foolish and just, leave your job and, you wouldn't do that very necessary step. But, after a while, reality does set in because the money is not being replenished. I might have taken my time about finding that job and, I'm like, the business is going to pick up tomorrow, but not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily pick up tomorrow. So having a job, I think that you mentioned was a good idea. It took a while for me to find that, and I guess it came at the right time. Perhaps I needed to like see it run down before,
when you realize that, hey, listen, I need to eat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I did different things, and that's when you have to learn, like, you have to keep your ego in check, right? Because if it is you're looking for some cash, I worked as a hostess in a restaurant. I drove Lyft, and all those things, they help to bring cash in, to realize that these are times are not going to last, but you have to actually get through those times.
The thing is, which is so important with what you said, is that, you have to keep your ego in check, right? Because you could be like, listen, I'm a PhD. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. If it is that you just want to be where you were before, you would just go back and get a job. You left for a reason, right? You left for a reason, so you should really try to see it through. And, some things that you never thought you would do. I've done things I've never thought I would do, but when you have to pay some bills, you have to make things. You have to make ends meet somehow. You have to eat, you have to pay rent, you have to do different things, So you have to the ego in check and get up, do what you have to do until they don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, so now I want to kind of go into what it is that, so you're doing the teaching, but you're also doing some sales, right?
Yep.
How did you get into that?
Well, my small interfacing with people with small business. One of the things I was thinking of getting into with my consulting was the field of water. I know nothing about that field. At least then I knew absolutely nothing. I know a little more than nothing now, but then I knew nothing. And so what happened is that I decided, I could still get in the field of water if I can, why don't I try doing some sales? That way it's still technical. I'm still providing a service, but I am not responsible for meeting the engineering requirements or anything. Somebody else can do that. So it's still technical. I get to interface with customers and all that, and it's a win. It's a win for me. So yeah, I think so. I started that. I used to do like presentations at different events, and so I caught the eye of some people, and they're like, "Oh, this person is looking for someone in water." So to and when I went spoke to this manufacturer. This was a German manufacturer. They sold compressors and blowers, and I know that was used in the wastewater treatment market. So I encouraged that. I met with that person. I encouraged that person to give me an opportunity to represent their equipment. And so this person would go with me on sales calls. And what was interesting, it was very different from what I had experienced as an engineer, because we are not really, as engineers, we don't really get to interface with the end user or the person that would buy our stuff. You have to actually figure out a way to get in the door. So that's what I did at first. I did that for, I had this one company and another company as that I represented for about a year to a year and a half. And in doing that, I came across another project for which I did not have equipment. I had a very small portfolio of equipment that I represented. So, I tried to strike up a deal with another rep firm, and then they encouraged me to join them because they liked my grit, they liked my tenacity, how I had approached them with this opportunity, which they didn't even realize that opportunity was there, and they were shocked that they missed it, And so here it is. I brought this opportunity, and I proposed this interaction, and so they're like, "Well, why don't you join our team? We have more lines that we can represent. It's a team. I won't be working on my own. I'll still be in business for myself, but not by myself." So I took the opportunity and jumped right in. And I think it's been a good journey. It took some time for me to start getting sales, but I am now starting to get to the point where I have actually achieved that. We have had like my first major sale.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's great.
And it wasn't like a small, it's like $500,000 worth of equipment, which is not a small thing. So, and once that happens, you actually start to see that, that you can do more. That, that it's not limited. It's limited by how you think and the effort that you put in.
It also makes the vision kind of real. It gives it a little more, it's, like it, okay, now I'm starting to see something materialize out of all the effort that I've been putting in.
Yeah.
I know you've been putting in a lot of effort as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that it was a real belief builder for me, because I didn't have like sales experience, and so all of these skills I have to develop by by interfacing with others, relying on guidance, reading books, educating myself.
Yeah, because as you say, the engineers kind of stay in a little corner, do work, little calculations or whatever, give it to somebody else and they handle it, right? But now,
Right.
especially with sales, I mean, I haven't really been in sales, but I was in procurement, and deal with a lot of people in sales, and you realize even with a job like procurement, you realize just how much you have to increase your knowledge base to understand different things. Even though that's not your field, you have to be knowledgeable to speak to something, speak to
Yeah.
it. Same thing
Yeah.
with sales. You have to be at least knowledgeable because you have to know. You don't know how to build it. You don't have the technical expertise to build this equipment, but you should be able to answer about it, right? You have to know ins and outs of it so you could speak about it, sell it to somebody, to market it to somebody.
Well, yes. Also, the fact is that we're part of a bigger team. So, I guess it is, the end goal is to know as much about your equipment, the equipment lines that you represent as possible, but, you just can't know everything. So, like we have big sales calls where, like for us as sales reps, we can talk about major pain points that, that a customer is having and how a particular product will address these major pain points. But then you also have, there's some engineers that really want to get into the weeds. And at that time, then I draw on the strength of the manufacturers, their technical team. Then I'll get them involved in the sales call if, when it develops to that level.
Right, that's good. So, I mean, how did you, because I know you said it took some time before you actually made your first sale, right? And that could be very demoralizing, especially if you're working in a team where other people are making sales faster than you are making sales. How did you keep yourself motivated?
I guess it's because I remind myself why I am doing sales in the first place. So, or really it's because I want to be in business. And, this is a business that I've decided to go into. Because, there are different types of businesses. I didn't go into a manufacturing business. I did not, go into, there are other businesses. There are a lot of things I did not go into. I chose to go into sales because I saw that as the quicker route for me to achieve some financial success. And I still see that as a way to achieve I still see sales as a way to achieve financial success. I think that the field that I'm in, which is to provide water and wastewater treatment, is a worthwhile field. I see that it is a field that, it will not get old, that people will benefit all the time. I'm excited about the field, and I'm actually providing a service at the end of the day. I'm providing a service by selling this equipment. So I keep all of that in mind. I believe in the products that I am selling. I think that makes a big difference.
So I want to kind of bring everything together, right? I want to, because you said a lot of stuff and you put a lot of information out there, but I really want to bring it together so we could kind of really understand it in a holistic way. So sometimes it is that you have the urge to do something, and sometimes it just comes out, right? I mean, you don't recommend saying that to your boss, even though I've done that so many times, but sometimes it comes out, sometimes you can't help yourself. And when it happens, it's not the end of the world because we are both still here, right? Even though, and it's so important, it might seem so simple that you're here, but we are here. We are here to see another day and get it right. Right? So that's very important. The other thing that you mentioned is that you didn't have the expertise for sales. That was not your field. But you read the books, you put yourselves in different groups in order to market yourself, in order to network, or to just find out from different people's experiences. And in doing that, it led you to different people. The other thing that you did was that you reached out to somebody that you saw on LinkedIn who, you said, okay, maybe I could get some good information from him. And you did. He gave you such wonderful information. Then you made a connection with somebody that really helped guide you to where you needed to go. And he sent you to the right place. Instead of going to Miami, then go to Texas. And that was actually the best move for you, right? Yeah. And then, the other thing you mentioned in terms of sales, well, first before I get into that, make money as much as you can. Like make money as fast as you can. So whether it is that you have to put your ego aside, if it is that you have all more degrees than a thermometer, it doesn't matter, right? You left the job for a reason.
Yeah.
You left for a reason. So just put it aside. Whatever you have to do just to make some money. Even if you have 5 years of savings, could be one accident, one something that could completely wipe you out. You don't want to be left like that, so you have to make money as fast as possible. And that's one of the things that you did. You drove Uber, you drove Lyft, you worked as a hostess, you did different things just to replenish something. Because once money is always leaving, that's something else, and nothing's coming in. It leaves faster than it comes in, right? And then the last thing, I guess, well, not the last thing, but one of the major things is that you said to keep yourself motivated is that you believed in what you were doing. You believed in it. You wanted it. You wanted to do it, and you know that you didn't want to go back into corporate life. You wanted to be in business, and you've kept that in your mind. So you have to keep the vision of where you want to be and keep going towards that vision.
Yeah. One thing, I didn't see you take any notes, but that was a great summary. I mean,
yeah. I listen. Yeah.
One thing I did want to, I don't think I heard you say it. But I did want to emphasize that sometimes you have an idea, like you take, maybe you attend seminars on stuff on business, and they say write a business plan, and for some people that's a beyond what's your business plan and all that, and so you could attempt to write it. Some people have that down. I did write one. I don't know that it was a great business plan, and you have to be careful, because some folks, they want you to go and take loans and all of that, and that's probably not necessary, depending on, there are a lot of times that that's not necessary to get funding. But the point I want to make here is that you might have one idea of what your business might be like, but you need to be prepared to pivot and do something else. And I'm not talking about like just those short-term things about finding a part-time job or anything like that. I'm talking about the business itself. You might start off, you have one vision for the business and might start off in one way, and then it turns another way.
Right.
And you should be okay with that. You need to ride that wave.
Yeah. Open.
Yeah,
But don't close yourself out and be rigid and say, listen, this is what it's supposed to be, and this is what I'm sticking to. Open, yeah. welcome what the market is telling you. Right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Very, very good advice. And I have to say, it was really, really good conversation. I thought you were excellent. Thank you for all the tidbits that you gave us, because it's so important. It's so important to talk to people who are on the journey. They're not there yet. They're getting there. Making your sales now you're starting to feel okay. Starting to understand this thing a little better now, right?
Yes. Yep.
You think you understand, and then something throws you off. It's like, oh, you gotta wait to understand, and then it takes you some time, but that's just how it is.
Yes.
That's just how it is. These big corporations started off somewhere, right? And you just have to get in that mindset of remembering that, and you're just gonna focus on the journey. You focus on the goal at the end of the day. I understand that the journey is the journey, and it's not always going to be like this forever. And I think that is so important for people to understand.
Yeah, and I think one more thing, especially when you're doing business full time and there's nobody regulating you. You actually have to regulate yourself. You have to regulate your time. You decide what's important, and so I want to say that every day you should do something for your business, because there are a lot of times you could actually spend time just watching TV or in bed. You're doing stuff that does not count.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that sometimes that could happen, that you just need a mental break, but the majority of your time needs to be toward making that step, moving forward, pushing the ball further ahead. So I don't think I mentioned that, so I don't want folks to just think that, oh, I just turned out all right. No, there's actual
work
that you go out. Sometimes I don't want to make calls. But now I'm like, okay, I need to actually start developing some new business. So, make a list of some new people to call, new folks to visit, things like that. So.
That's an excellent point. Make sure that you're doing things for your job every day. And a lot of people, sometimes the effort that you used to give at your actual job, You have to give that to your business and then some. Like some people just to say, well, I don't really have to do anything today. No, do it. Do it. Because that's so important. You would have given it to your job. Even if you didn't want to do it, you were doing it because it was getting a paycheck. Do it for yourself, right? Do it for yourself. That's so important. Thank you so much, Keisha. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody who look at this video could learn something from it. And it could be people who still working, people who outside, this was good feedback, good advice. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come and do this conversation. I hope you had fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're very welcome. I was a bit, nervous, but I'm glad that I was here and to have that conversation with you.
Yes, thank you so much. So, I mean, we always talking, so we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, sister.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.